We've got entertainment, and we're not afraid to use it.
On Talk Radio.
So we have finally managed to get hold of Owen Holdaway, who's a freelance foreign correspondent out of Lebanon. Owen, good morning to you. I'm sorry we had a few issues there with our phone lines.
No. It's a technical problem always in the Middle East. It's always a problem getting hold of me.
Okay.
Yeah, always something.
Now, I mentioned about the Iran nuclear deal. So if we can go on to the to protests in Iraq and thousands of graduates demanding jobs from government.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a sort of endemic issue, basically, in Iraq. I mean, corruption and basically unemployment. I mean, it was a major spur, actually, for the conflict there and the rise of ISIS. Unemployment levels and a lot of apathy, particularly amongst the Sunni community, caused them to actually turn to ISIS. I don't think these sort of protests will, catalyze into anything as serious as what happened in the past. But it's definitely a thing that the Western governments need to monitor.
Owen, can you tell us about the Netanyahu surprise visit to London? He's surprising Boris with a trip.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting one. I think they're very much thinking about a realignment and pushing the UK government more towards the US sort of angle. Obviously, Netanyahu and Trump, they're very much closer. And I think with the new administration, Boris in power now back in the UK. I think they're very much trying to push Iran, particularly against Iran. The UK government more aligned with sort of US policy. So it's a very interesting thing, and there's a lot of talk about it here actually in Lebanon.
And meanwhile, in Saudi Arabia, now we know that there has been a little bit of a loosening on rules around women, for example, now being able to drive, and there's a little more now.
Yeah. Again, that's sort of something which has been progressively happening under MBS, the sort of leader there. I think it's in Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of tension, particularly between the religious establishment and the Saudi government. But it seems to be getting progressively more liberal, particularly for women's rights, which is only a good thing for the region.
Could you talk to us about Hezbollah? It's quite a worrying update. It readies itself for the next war against Israel. What's happening? Down south, there's been a bit of conflict between Hezbollah and Israel. It sporadically comes up every so often. They fired some missiles back, I think, after Israel launched some drone attacks on Hezbollah in the south. I suspect it won't escalate into the tensions that caused the full-out civil war back in or the war against Hezbollah and Israel in 2006. But it's definitely something that very much flares up. Hezbollah here, though, is very much preoccupied. It's still operating in Syria, fighting for the Assad regime. So they're unlikely as well to want a full-blown conflict with Israel.
What is the situation in Lebanon at the moment?
It's actually relatively stable. I mean, in the northern parts it is. It's fared the kind of the Arab Spring a lot better, and particularly a lot better than what happened in Syria and Iraq. That was where it was before. So it's actually relatively stable. There is some political issues here. Corruption, as across the Middle East, is a problem, and there's still some sectarian issues between the different ethnic groups, and there's a large Christian community here. But I think in general, with the exception of what's happening in the south with Hezbollah and Israel, it's relatively stable.
Owen, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. The line held up just enough. Owen Holdaway, there, freelance foreign correspondent out of Lebanon. The time is 7:39.